Charles "Lucky" Luciano is widely regarded as the man who revolutionized organized crime in America. His innovative strategies, ruthless ambition, and uncanny ability to navigate the world of crime made him one of the most influential figures in mafia history. From his rise in the streets of New York to his control over the national crime syndicate, Luciano's impact on the underworld is still felt today. In this video, we'll explore the life of Lucky Luciano, his rise to power, the key alliances he formed, and his role in shaping modern organized crime. Charles "Lucky" Luciano's role as the architect of modern organized crime cannot be overstated. His life, filled with strategic decisions, calculated risks, and ruthless ambition, led to the creation of the structure that defined organized crime for generations. Luciano's story is not just one of power and criminality, it is one of transformation and innovation, changing the criminal landscape forever. Early life, from poverty to crime. Born in 1897 in the gritty, immigrant-heavy Lower East Side of New York City, Luciano's early life was marked by hardship. The child of Italian immigrants, he grew up surrounded by poverty and a fierce need for survival. His community was steeped in crime, with many of his peers drawn into the world of illicit activities from a young age. Luciano's exposure to the harsh realities of life in New York's slums shaped his worldview, making him realize that the criminal world offered the quickest route to wealth and power. Luciano's natural aptitude for organization and his ruthless efficiency made him a standout in the criminal world. As a teenager, he joined a local gang, where he learned the mechanics of petty crime, extortion, and smuggling. He was known for his charisma, which allowed him to navigate the often violent underworld with ease. His early encounters with the criminal elite gave him the opportunity to observe their methods, which would later inspire his own approach to organized crime. A turning point, rising through the gang ranks. Luciano's rise through the criminal underworld began in earnest during the 1920s when he became involved with the notorious 5 Points Gang, a powerful crime syndicate in Manhattan. The gang's leader, Johnny Torrio, saw potential in the ambitious young Luciano, who quickly rose through the ranks. During this time, Luciano's business acumen started to shine, distinguishing him from other criminals who were content with the chaotic, violent nature of street crime. It was also during this period that Luciano recognized the fragmented state of the mafia. Different ethnic groups operated in their own separate silos. Luciano understood that for organized crime to truly succeed on a larger scale, it needed unity and structure. This was the foundation of the future success of the mafia. Mafia reorganization, a vision for a unified crime syndicate. Luciano's most significant and revolutionary achievement came in the early 1930s, when he successfully orchestrated the downfall of Joe Masseria, the current head of the Genovese crime family. Masseria was resistant to change, and his outdated methods of leadership were damaging the profitability and longevity of the mafia. Luciano, aided by his ally, Salvatore Maranzano, worked behind the scenes to have Masseria killed in 1931. This move signified Luciano's ultimate rise to power. Once he assumed control, Luciano began restructuring the mafia in a way that had never been done before. His most groundbreaking decision was to dissolve the existing structure of fragmented crime families and replace it with a more cohesive, collaborative organization. He established the Commission in 1931, a governing body made up of the leaders of the most powerful mafia families in the United States. The Commission served as a governing body that arbitrated disputes, managed territory divisions, and provided a central, stable framework for all mafia activities. This structure was a dramatic departure from the violent, anarchic days of street-level crime. Luciano's vision was clear. The mafia needed to be a business, one that operated with strategy, hierarchy, and clear rules. The National Crime Syndicate, a nationwide empire. Luciano didn't stop with the creation of the commission. He took his vision a step further by expanding his influence beyond New York and forming the National Crime Syndicate, a nationwide cartel of crime families. This syndicate united criminal organizations across the United States, from New York to Chicago to Los Angeles, under a single umbrella. It was a groundbreaking step that turned organized crime into a nationwide business operation, with Luciano at the helm. The National Crime Syndicate allowed Luciano to control not just bootlegging, but a myriad of illicit operations, from gambling and prostitution to labor racketeering and narcotics trafficking. The syndicate's reach extended across the country, and its influence even reached into Canada and Mexico. Luciano's ability to expand and organize criminal operations on such a massive scale marked him as one of the most powerful figures in organized crime history. Luciano's approach was pragmatic. He understood that crime was not just about violence, but about control. By centralizing power, he ensured that the mafia could operate smoothly, eliminate competition, and avoid infighting. Under his leadership, organized crime became more sophisticated, and the mafia was able to compete with legitimate businesses. The creation of the commission and centralized power. Before Luciano's vision, the mafia was plagued by power struggles, territorial disputes, and constant feuding between different families. The violence of the early years, while profitable in the short term, had proven unsustainable. Luciano's creation of the commission was a game changer, providing a system of arbitration and conflict resolution that reduced bloodshed and ensured stability. Under Luciano's commission, each of the 5 families was given equal representation. The commission was tasked with mediating disputes and resolving issues that arose between families. It also handled the division of profits from various illegal operations. Luciano's approach brought much-needed discipline and order to the mafia, and this structure persisted for decades, shaping the future of organized crime. Luciano's business model: crime as a business. Luciano's success lay in his ability to treat organized crime like a business operation. He was a visionary who saw beyond the violence and chaos of traditional mafia activities and focused on long-term profit and efficiency. His criminal empire was organized in a way that resembled a legitimate corporation, with divisions dedicated to specific areas of crime, each overseen by a capo or boss who reported directly to him. He created alliances with powerful businessmen, politicians, and labor unions, recognizing that corruption and cooperation with legitimate industries were key to maintaining control. This strategic approach allowed Luciano to build an empire that was insulated from law enforcement crackdowns, and it ensured that his criminal empire operated smoothly and profitably for decades. The downfall, arrest, conviction, and exile. Despite his immense power and control over organized crime, Luciano's criminal empire was not immune to the law. In the early 1930s, the U.S. government intensified its efforts to dismantle organized crime syndicates, particularly focusing on activities such as prostitution, gambling, and narcotics trafficking. Luciano, who had long evaded legal action through bribery and manipulation, was eventually arrested in 1936 on charges related to running an extensive prostitution ring. He was convicted and sentenced to 30 to 50 years in prison. However, even behind bars, Luciano's influence over the mafia remained formidable. He continued to communicate with his allies and operatives on the outside, ensuring that his criminal empire continued to thrive. Luciano's network was vast and deeply entrenched, and his loyal followers ensured that his business operations were uninterrupted. Despite his incarceration, Luciano's role as a strategic mastermind never diminished. In 1946, following World War II, Luciano was granted a deal. The U.S. government, recognizing his knowledge of European criminal organizations and his valuable insight into the operations of foreign syndicates, agreed to deport him to Italy in exchange for his assistance with wartime intelligence efforts. This marked the official end of Luciano's direct control over American organized crime, though his legacy remained intact. While living in Italy, he continued to maintain connections with mafia families in the United States and provided guidance from afar, cementing his status as one of the most influential figures in mafia history. Legacy, visionary or villain? Luciano's death in 1962 marked the closing of a significant chapter in the history of organized crime, but his legacy continued to shape the underworld long after his passing. He is remembered as one of the most strategic, calculating, and influential figures in the criminal world. Someone who transformed a disorganized and fragmented network of criminal operations into a highly efficient, business-oriented structure. Yet, for others, Luciano remains a villain, a ruthless criminal mastermind who used manipulation, violence, and treachery to build his empire. His rise to power was marked by betrayal and backstabbing, and his methods were often brutal and unforgiving. His vision of a more controlled and systematic criminal enterprise was built on the exploitation of others, and his actions left a trail of destruction in his wake. Despite differing opinions on his character, it's undeniable that Luciano's influence shaped the mafia for generations to come. His business model and the structures he put in place served as a blueprint for future generations of organized criminals, ensuring that the mafia would continue to operate as a powerful and sophisticated force in the criminal world. The enduring myth of Lucky. Luciano's life and legacy have taken on an almost mythic status. His transformation from a young street thug to the leader of one of the most powerful criminal organizations in history has been immortalized in films, books, and television shows. His story has inspired countless portrayals of mafia bosses, from classic gangster movies to modern depictions of organized crime. Some see him as a tragic figure, a man who, despite his intelligence and vision, chose a path of crime and violence. Others view him as a brilliant strategist, someone who understood the nature of power and used his talents to create a lasting empire. His ability to unite warring factions, navigate the complex world of politics, and create a criminal syndicate that operated with military-like precision makes him a fascinating figure in the annals of criminal history. Lucky Luciano's legacy is complex and multifaceted. He was a man who changed the face of organized crime, and his story is one that continues to captivate the public's imagination. Whether viewed as a visionary or a villain, his impact on both the criminal world and popular culture is undeniable, ensuring that his name will forever be linked with the history of the mafia. Lucky Luciano's legacy is a testament to his genius as a criminal mastermind. Though he may have spent his final years in exile, his influence on the mafia and organized crime remains unparalleled. If you found Luciano's story fascinating, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the lives of the most notorious figures in crime history. Stay tuned for more gripping tales of power, betrayal, and ambition.